right, people, welcome to another episode of Natty News Daily. This one's going to be a little different than what we've done in the past. This is going to be kind of our first show analysis, and it's going to hit close to home because this is a show James did this past weekend, the OCB New Jersey. So I'm going to let James kind of kick it off with, how the show went for you, man. Peak week, we kind of, the three of us chatted a little bit throughout peak week, but maybe give people an idea of how it went. And then obviously the game plan now into the rest of the season.
I'll keep like my personal stuff pretty short because I don't want it to turn into like me just talking about myself all the time. I feel like we peaked pretty fantastic for that show though. My peak weeks are pretty stressful always, it seems like, because I'm trying to condense all my work into like 4 days. I never take the Friday.
We were talking about your traveling and you were just like a few days out. I need to pick up Allie from I forget what you gave me the rundown.
Yeah. So Friday, like whenever most people are already at the venue, like chilling, I worked a half day and then had to drive 2 hours to drop off Allie at her sister's with Bella.
Was that on Friday?
And then drove an hour.
That was the day before.
Yeah, day before show. And then drove an hour and a half to the venue, did my poly, did my check-in stuff, did my tan, and then like finally stopped moving at like 7 p.m. or something like that. I was like, all right, now it's time to relax. Meanwhile, just like shoving Cheerios in my mouth the entire day. That was funny. Like every 2 hours in the clinic leading up, I would like eat a little tuna packet and then just be like woofing down Cheerios, and all my patients were like, what is he doing?
James is broken.
But no, we peaked really well. Upper body came in really, really full. I was pretty happy with the vascularity I was able to get. Legs were a weak point in conditioning, but we knew that because this was kind of the warm up. And then the show itself was phenomenal. I was very, very pleased with how smoothly it was run. The venue was pretty cool. It was at the Showboat Hotel and Casino, which is right on the Atlantic City boardwalks. Being right on the boardwalk was cool. Being right, like I could see the ocean from my room. And I love the fact that the show was held in the casino as well as like where you stayed, because in the previous shows I've done, you've got a host hotel that's like 10 minutes away from the venue, and you have to worry about like waking up early, travel time, like where is it? And I get very stressed about not knowing where things are. So like for me to like leave a hotel to try and find the venue and worry about, all right, where am I parking? Where is this in the venue and where's that? It's too much stress. I get anxious about that. So like everything was there. Like you could chill all morning in your hotel room, still be getting ready, and then you like went up one floor from my room and boom, like there's the venue. It was beautiful. Tons of space for warming up, tons of space. Like the tanning was right there with you. And pretty good lighting
at the show too.
Yeah. I was gonna say pretty good.
Thinking
the pretty darn good lighting. I was very pleased. One thing we did notice as competitors, if you look at the group shots, which I don't think I posted, I'm sure someone has them on here that we're going to show. The people on the outsides were pretty dark. So like the middle 4 people looked awesome, but if you were one of those last guys, like you couldn't really see yourself.
Right.
Which they did a good job of rotating everyone in to get a good view from the judging point of view. But no real issues, no big hiccups. There were over 100 competitors. It was one of the deepest shows for the bodybuilding side of things that I've seen actually out of the OCB. That's not like the Yorton or anything like that. There were 8 in the first class, 7 in the second class, and I mean there were
tons of physique guys.
Tons of physique guys, tons of
I watched some of the
athletes. Yeah. I was very impressed. Other OCB shows, you get like 2 guys that are like pretty good quality, 1 guy that's like okay, and then like 5 guys that look like they've never dieted, unfortunately. But this show was actually really, really competitive, and some really talented 40 and 50 plus athletes too. Like a lot of masters bodybuilders were there, and then that was cool to see because those guys get shredded. So
what was when it comes to comparisons and stuff like that, did you find they took you through the ringer, or was it kind of like 1 or 2 rounds and then that was it?
I sweated through my tan. You can actually probably, in comparisons of these photos, which were my individual posing routine versus the group comparisons, if you find some photos of that, like I've lost all sheen like in these because I just sweated right through it. We were out there for a while.
Yeah.
They made us work. They made you hold the poses, but it was good. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that's nice when they do that. That's one thing that I found when I went to the States in 2019. Like we were up there for I think like half an hour. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it's good.
Yeah.
You obviously get plenty of stage time, right? And you know that they're getting a good look at you and they're making the right decision that they're confident with versus just like, one round of the mandatories. All right, thanks guys. See you later. Like that sucks sometimes, right? So that's cool that they they're putting emphasis on that.
Because that's what you come to do is to show up and present your physique. I mean, if you have a long time to do that, that's awesome. Good a period of time and be able to hit your poses, have some time to kind of sit in the pose rather than pose, and then hit lots of different poses.
Yeah, they didn't skimp on anything. And I don't think we mentioned this show was promoted by Joe Franco, Team Franco Bodybuilding. Does a fantastic job with his shows. He's well known in the OCB. He's definitely well known in this area. OCB Hall of Famer, like judge, promoter. He does everything. So it was great.
Was there anything with like from a COVID standpoint? Like, was there any kind of differences that you saw? Or
we wore our masks while we were backstage, and we definitely didn't take them off. We followed the New Jersey rules. No, at that point, I mean, it was interesting. We all took, you can see no one's wearing their mask in their individual routine. We wore them for the group posing, but no, not really. Not at this point.
I'm jealous. Canada sucks.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing was Delaware lifted all its regulations on Friday as I was leaving Delaware to go to New Jersey, which still has regulations for masks and open in public, which I think is really their only regulation. You're still supposed to wear a mask, but I mean, for an individual routine, when I'm the only one on stage, I'm not going to wear it and like ruin all my photos. So, but we wore them in the group once where we're like somewhat close to each other.
Yep. Makes sense. Okay. So clarify. So there was 2 classes, right? A tall and a short. You were in the tall class. So let's go to the winner, Carl here. Yeah. Let's
do it.
So here we go. Give us the rundown, James. You're backstage with this monster.
Yeah. So clarifying, this is the class winner. This is the Open B winner, not the overall winner.
Yep.
Carl was a great guy. I met him at this show. We tanned together, so I got very intimately to know him very early on.
That's like the whole tanning thing is such an interesting experience. It's like it's
Well, okay, so most competitors know what we're talking about. For the non-competitors, if there are any just fans of bodybuilding that watch, I mean, you're tanning with all the other dudes, butt naked. So the first time
with a sock on.
Well, if you want to wear a sock, none of us really did, but
you're a real unpleasant person.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, whatever.
I wouldn't care. I grew up playing hockey though, so what do I know?
Yeah.
So was just normal business for us.
You're having a casual chat with the guys that you're supposed to be like fiercely competing against, in the next day or so.
Carl is a monster.
He's huge. He's enormous. He won his NGA pro card a couple weeks before, wanted to try for an OCB pro card because he wasn't, he wanted more stringent drug testing is what I'll say, from what I heard. You can ask him about any issues he might have seen in any organizations. But he's huge. He's got an NPC quality physique. The conditioning probably could be improved a little bit. And I think he will. He's got time to do so in other shows. But you can just see the comparison here. So this is the Open A versus Open B for the overall, which Carl lost to Craig. Craig is a WNBF pro, was trying to shoot for his OCB pro. And he's got a crazy, crazy story. I believe we're going to get him on to talk at some point.
Yeah,
so I
think
won't
we're
say
going to
too
get
much.
him in for a chat about his journey because, like you said, it's quite the adventure the man's been on.
Yeah, multiple comebacks, one at many different levels at many different times in his life.
He won his WNBF card a while back, right?
About 30 years. No, he was 30. I don't know. Long time. Over 20 years ago. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I didn't realize there was a whole lot more. I knew he's been a WNBF pro for a while. but
yeah. So you can see in this comparison, I mean, a big discrepancy in weight, a big discrepancy in age, difference of physiques. But what I will say with Craig is those photos don't do him justice for his conditioning. Like, he was shredded to the bone. It was vascular everywhere. Like, his jugular looked like it was about to just rip out of his throat when he was pumping up. Like, guy looked phenomenal. Yeah, super nice guy too. He was like talking with everybody, chatting everybody up. The whole backstage situation was phenomenal. Everyone was just kind of broing out, which was good to see, because I've seen other shows where everyone's like hiding in their corner with their hoodies up, like trying to be intimidating. And it's like, come on, we've all done the work now. Let's just go see what the judges want to put us where they want.
Yeah, you can tell the lighting here doesn't do his lower half justice, but for those watching, like you can see everything in his back. There's strides.
You can even see the lighting isn't even great for his back, and it still looks good.
That's right.
You can still see it shadowed. It still is. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking like shredded glutes and like very, very quality physique. I think he looked a little washed out in these. Yeah.
How tall is he?
Short. I don't know exactly. I don't want to like shame him or anything, but I'll say like 5'5", 5'6", maybe. Like, I know Hesh is 5'8", and Hesh looked pretty tall compared to him. So
here's some video. What we got here?
A little pose down action.
He's just loving it, eh?
Yeah. And Carl's posing there was pretty phenomenal. He had some pretty sick, like, free posing, very classic look to him.
Did Craig have a hernia?
I don't know.
I'm just curious. Like, in his belly button, it almost looks like he maybe had a hernia.
Pretty personal question. I would not know. I guess we can ask him and find out when he comes on.
I mean, it's not taking away from his physique at all, and I could be totally wrong.
No.
Yeah, look at those shots by Carl there.
Yeah, very fun show. Both of these guys put on a pretty good, entertaining experience up there. Yeah,
awesome state. Like you said, the setup was really good.
The only critique I have about this venue, actually, which, fun fact, this is the same venue that the Mr. America is going to be hosted at, for those American competitors interested in that. So I would imagine a lot of it'll be the same. Joe Lacera was actually there expediting the show, the classic physique Mr. America. So he was getting some kind of like look behind the scenes at what they wanted to change for that show. So any of my issues, like the lighting, they noticed and will probably fix for that show, which would be cool.
When is that show again?
October 11th or 12th, something around there.
How do you qualify for
that? You just have to be a pro, I think.
Yeah, just be a pro of any organization, and then boom.
Any organization.
Yup. So I gotta get a pro card. But no, my critique of the venue, the
spoiler alert,
right? Yeah. The first floor where the judges was standing room only for this show. So you could be down there like milling around and like taking photos and everything, but the actual seats were up on a second floor balcony that wrapped around, which was kind of cool, because you had people everywhere. But photos from like the friends and family are all looking down, so they're not great there. Yeah, so you definitely want to buy the professional photos, because they're the ones that are going to be like what you see here.
Because I was wondering how good the lighting was because I think the stream was kind of down below, and a lot of the photos and videos I saw like before they released the professional shots were from that angle, and I was like, I don't know. Everyone looks kind of orange and washed out. But
can we talk about this shot too? Like, I love how this photo came out. Like, absolutely love that look
with the hammy drop.
The hammy drop. My chest actually looks like I have a chest. Like, my obliques are nice and full there, so I've got that like dense taper. Love that one.
Yeah, once you're your lower body, like we've talked about before, but in the next 6-7 weeks, like you get those lines down the quad here, obviously the upper body would only continue to get better, but the lower body to come in to match that, like I agree, that would be a good one to hit when they're like, favorite pose, gentlemen, boom.
Drop the hammer.
Yeah.
All right, let's see some other people. Let's see.
All right, let's pull Mr. Hesh up.
Mm-hmm.
So he was second in the tall class, yeah?
Second in the tall class. He was just coming off of the Pine Trees State where he competed. I forget his placing in that. Took second in this and is now he just announced recently that he's going to be competing up in Syracuse, June 19th, the New York State Natural. No, that's their November show. Whichever one Mike Halsey puts on right now up there, which will be a good show. He has a very, very much pro card deserving physique. So I hope he earns that this year for sure.
Is that another OCB event?
Yes. Yeah. That's the one that I've done. I've done their fall version of that show twice and the spring once.
They run like a fall and a spring. They do that in Pittsburgh too.
Yeah. I think this one actually has normally been hosted in Albany, but for whatever reason, they're moving it to Syracuse this year. So yeah, but Mike runs a pretty fantastic show as well. I'm not sure exactly where the venue is this year because I know he had to move some of his shows because of COVID. They weren't able to use the theater that they normally do. So we'll see. But
I think the shot on the left is kind of what you saw, James, when he was.
Yeah, and you want to talk about that, Dan? So I'm not just talking the whole time.
You could. You're the one who was there, so I just look at photos. So photos aren't always the whole story. So I like your opinion. It's worth way more than mine. I look behind the screen.
Yeah. Well, Dan, you mentioned this to Hesh, and if he listens to this video, this is no critique because he plays better than me and looks better than me. But backstage just looked absolutely lights out with conditioning. Like I very strongly felt like his conditioning would put him ahead of Carl for our class because he has good muscle mass, he's got good density, and his conditioning was just ridiculous backstage. But then when he got on stage, I was looking at some photos and he looked a little bit more washed out through his quads specifically. And I don't know if it was just a lack of remembering to pose them properly on stage, got a little like stage shy or something like that. But that was just the only thing I noticed, which maybe the judges noticed as well, was the posing was a little off, didn't look as crisp. But I'll say like in person backstage when he was like warming up and everything, just looked absolutely ridiculous. And he's another great guy. All the guys, the top three in my class, really cool to talk to, really cool to meet. And I hope I get to compete against them a couple times, in the future.
And Hesh is somebody you've kind of known through social media. I've talked with Hesh a handful of times through social media. So it's interesting and cool to, I'm sure, to meet some of these people too.
Yeah.
I think so Craig too, didn't you knew Craig through social too? Or had you met Craig before?
Craig had reached out to me on social media beforehand when I announced that I was doing the show, just to kind of chat. Hesh I knew of from Angelo Prince, who's an OCB Classic Physique Pro, who I was there when he won his pro card, and we've stayed in touch. We've been close for a bit. He actually stayed like in the hotel with me. So like, yeah, because I didn't want to be alone. So I was like, yo, man, I got a free bed. Like, you want to come crash? So he actually helped me with the peak a little bit and like gave me his critique and like all that stuff. So he was there and is close with Hesh. So it's kind of like this, closed the circle there a little bit that I got to meet and compete against Hesh.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he just kind of expand on what you said, like just for my objective eye looking at the photos, like his conditioning in these photos looks very much different than what we see on stage. And like you said, it could be a number of factors, right? Could have been posing, could have been, maybe spilling a little bit, could have been something as simple as lighting, which, there's certain factors that come to what you see on stage that are out of your control. But for him, he clearly has it. He can clearly bring it, right? You saw it backstage, it's clear looking at these photos, his quads are in. So, hopefully come the next time he competes, maybe some of those issues that, were out of his control or something little that maybe he's picked up on, he fixes. And then, he's only going to be better because like you guys said, he's very, very good quality, right? So it's just bringing that last couple percent to give him that top shot. But
to really present it.
Yeah, just to make the whole package that much better. But dude looks awesome, so I'm excited to see what he does for the rest of the year too. And then you brought up Heath as well.
Yes.
There's no
He does.
photo. Oh, maybe there's a couple.
That's from the Pittsburgh show, I think.
Yeah, it's not the same show.
Do you have any? Are there any group photos that you've seen from?
I did post on Instagram any. I have some though. He doesn't post much, but he came kind of out of, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but his conditioning was way better than mine. I feel like a similar structure. Super nice guy though as well. But yeah, I really feel, well, I was saying earlier, like the OCB shows, sometimes you have one or two good competitors and the rest are kind of like whatever. I feel like any one of us four could and will win their pro cards, like Hesh, Carl, Heath, myself. I think eventually all of us have that capability within the OCB at the very minimum. I know he's going to be competing in some WNBF shows eventually, I believe. We spoke a little bit after the show. He was asking me about my thoughts on different organizations. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in the next couple months or a couple years. Depends on where he wants to go. But yeah, I mean, you can see some photos there, like not the greatest lighting showing off, and I'm not sure how far out he was there, but he had some good structure. He's another person with like a really good hamstring drop there. Good side shots for sure.
Yeah. Back
How was the
up a little bit, but yeah, like side tricep looks great. Hamstring, he said, looks awesome.
Yeah, his hamstring looks great.
Yeah, definitely.
He looks good.
A lot of potential for sure.
Yeah.
How was the rest of the short class too?
How was the what?
The rest of the short class too.
They had, and that's something I do want to apologize to anyone watching for, is I don't know them as well, just because I didn't compete against them. In the future, maybe we can like reach out to a lot of the competitors and try and get information prior. But they were.
I didn't see
talented.
any shots. They were talented.
There was 3 or 4 guys that, you know, had I been in that class, I probably would have placed around the same again. I think there were, 3 guys that probably were in a better place than me for sure. At minimum, they had a larger class, 8. But there was only, I don't want to discredit anybody, but there was really only one person that I was like, you could tell it was their first time competing. You could tell that they needed more time and they were a little inexperienced, but the rest of the guys were, older, more experienced competitors with very good conditioning, just maybe lacking in mass overall. But yeah, very, very competitive show. I would be interested to see what the actual like overall point totals were between both classes to see where I would have been and out of like all bodybuilders.
Yep. That's good when it's competitive, like there's nothing worse than when there's not many people. Like there was a few shows last year in Canada in the fall when we were able to have shows that there's like 1 or 2 guys in, and it's just, or even worse, 1. So, but winner by default. And like, I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for my personal opinion and perspective on it, but that just doesn't sit right. Like I don't like that. I don't call that a win. From a competitive standpoint, don't get me wrong. Anybody getting on stage, that's an accolade in itself. But from a competitive standpoint, when you're telling us that there's classes of 7 and 8 guys and 4 or 5 of them are very competitive, like that's what you want. You want those shows.
If I'm going to win my pro card, I want it to feel like I beat someone to get it. I don't want to walk in and be like, oh, well, I'm going to get it. Like, look at everyone around me. I want to be nervous. I want like, oh shit, I did it. Like they think I'm better than this guy. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in the messages, but I kind of went in with that former attitude. I kind of looked around like, I'm going to clean house here. Which it's just, you don't know who's going to show up though. Like it's a pro and a con. Like,
that's a conversation actually. Before, we won't get too far into it, but I want to talk about this in a video. Because some organizations have a minimum competitor requirement. WNBF, I believe it's 7. Some do not. And I want to talk about kind of just an open forum, maybe on another week or two when we do one of these videos, but the pros and cons to that, whether one situation factors into another. I've had this conversation with my coach before where it's like, okay, if a competitor is pro worthy, but there's not enough competitors to earn them a pro card, that's not their fault, right? It's not up to them to bring competitors to the show. If they are, like take this show, for example, if Craig had been there, regardless of who else was there, would he still get a pro card by some other organization standards because there's not enough competitors? Or will some of them hand them out a little bit more freely to maybe people that maybe aren't at that level yet? But again, we won't get too far deep into that because we'd probably go on for half an hour about it. But it's interesting, right? Pros and cons.
It's a good conversation to have.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else, man, you want to touch on with the whole experience? Obviously, seems like you had a good all around time there. Good lighting, good pictures, good time, good people.
Yeah, loved it. Right back into it. I'm back down to my stage weight. Pretty much treated like Saturday, Sunday as a 2-day refeed. Didn't eat all that crazy, and I think my legs look better already. So I'm excited.
What'd you weigh again?
I weighed the last time I weighed myself, which was Thursday, was 165, and then I started my carb up. We did a backload, so who knows what I ended up weighing. I've pretty much, I think every one competition I was 163 in my last weigh-in, but every other one I was 165. So very comparable in weight, but I think I definitely brought a more overall well-developed physique this year. It's just I'm going to have to drop another 8 to 10 pounds to be bodybuilding conditioning. So that's what's next.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I'll give a little shout. Team Franco hosts another show August 28th in Allentown, the Battle for the Belt with the OCB. So if you want to hop on another one of his shows, you got that one. And then he's already scheduled for, I think, May 21 of 2022 for this show again. What are you raising your hand for? What do you want?
I'm coming.
Oh yeah?
It's
a bit of a hike, but
I got time.
All right. Start walking.
Yep. And if you guys didn't catch that earlier, it looks like Dan's doing the Mr. America. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.